Tony Abbott began the year with a captain's call that spelled the beginning of his end, restoring the honours of knights and dames.
I particularly acknowledge Prince Philip.
It was just one of a series of judgments that rankled coalition members, and by February he was fending off a leadership spill motion. What he called a near-death experience, he insisted, left him a different man.
I've listened, I've learned, and I've changed.
But Tony Abbott's self-imposed deadline of 6 months to turn around the polls began ticking. While the coalition was on the nose federally, in New South Wales, Mike Baird was returned decisively as Premier at the March election. That month also marked the death of former Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser. In April, the Australian government was focused on a final plea for mercy to Indonesia in the case of Andrew Chan and Myron Sukumaran.
Please don't take my brother from me. Please.
Their families were left shattered when Jakarta rejected all diplomatic and personal appeals to spare their lives from the firing squad for drug trafficking. Australia recalled its ambassador in protest.
These executions are both cruel and unnecessary.
In May, the Abbott government sought to ease the voter backlash caused by last year's tough budget by offering tax relief and sweeteners for small business.
We want small business to go out and invest, to have a go.
While the budget was largely well received, a damaging leak exposed divisions within Cabinet on national security. Some ministers rejected a push to allow the Immigration Minister to strip sole nationals of their citizenship. In June, Australia made history by signing a free trade agreement with China on the back of agreements with Japan and South Korea. By July, Bill Shorten was in the hot seat at the Royal Commission into Trade Union Corruption.
What I'm concerned about more is your credibility as a witness.
The opposition leader emerged defiant, despite serious questions raised about undeclared donations.
There was no evidence demonstrated of any conflict.
The Speaker, Bronwyn Bishop, yielded to pressure over travel expenses, specifically a $5,000 chopper ride to a Liberal Party fundraiser. She paid back the money, eventually.
I'm so sorry that I didn't apologise earlier.
That wasn't enough, and by August she was gone. Then the political debate quickly shifted to Syria's refugee crisis, and one image that changed everything. The government announced 12,000 people would be given safe haven in Australia. Tony Abbott was praised, but it wasn't long before the knives were out again. And on September the 14th, Malcolm Turnbull called a leadership spill.
We have lost 30 news polls in a row.
And he won.
This is the most exciting time to be alive.
The government also won the Canning by-election, and a new ministry was sworn in with more women on the front bench. Tony Abbott and his supporters retreated to the back bench.
There'll be no wrecking, no undermining, and no sniping.
Treasurer Joe Hockey chose to quit Parliament altogether. Malcolm Turnbull's popularity soared, while Bill Shorten's crashed. In October, the threat of homegrown terrorism strengthened the government's resolve to fight it, after a police employee was killed by a teen jihadi in Sydney's west. But Malcolm Turnbull's rhetoric was dramatically different.
Mutual respect is the glue that binds this very diverse country together.
The government also faced off rioting detainees on Christmas Island in November. As the year drew to a close, there was rancour over Special Minister of State Mal Brough and whether he had asked James Ashby to procure copies of former Speaker Peter Slipper's diary.
Yes, I did. No, I have not misled this House at all.
And so the parliamentary year ended, with questions over Mal Brough's future as a minister and the defection of former minister and long-time Turnbull friend Ian Macfarlane from the Queensland Liberals to the Nationals. That's Federal Politics 2015 in 5 minutes.